Okay, we're back at Hartland Bike Park once again for episode 3 of the route series. I know this will be the third time at Hartland, but it'll be a different route. Again, the beginning will be similar, but what I'll do is I'll cut those really short because you don't need to watch the same beginning trails all the time. So we're going to do a route that is more one that I ride in the winter, which is it is right now. It's mid-December. Still fun, more of a sort of cardio route with some climbing. What we'll do is we'll be exploring the south end, so, and then working our way up to the north end. So we're currently on Easy Rider. We'll be going to Skull, up Skull, to Inventive, and then we'll be turning south on Littleface. So here we go. So we did a right-hand turn on to Skull Trail, and we're making our way up, and then we'll be turning left and going on Inventive. So we had finished Skull and we took a left onto Inventive. So we're currently on Inventive, making our way up to where it intersects into Littleface. So we're just finishing Inventive. We're going to go up on the same rock when we intersect onto Littleface, and instead of carrying on straight, we're going to do a left and go down the rock face and start heading south on Littleface to the south end of the dump. So at this point of Littleface, it comes down to the end of it, and it's sort of a swoopy sort of blue intermediate downhill where you can get good speed if you choose. And then we'll be going straight on to All Dressed. Down to the bottom and straight on to All Dressed. Now, All Dressed is a blue intermediate trail, which is two-way. I climb it most of the time. So we'll be climbing up some rather wet, mossy rock faces. That was one of them. And we'll see how it goes. So we're coming into an area of All Dressed right now that Sims Trail Crew did a lot of work on this last year. They made it significantly easier. It used to be quite a bit jankier, but pretty easy now both ways. Got to do a little bit of a crunch. Yep. Very good. And carry on. And when you get to the end of All Dressed, you do a left onto Ruffles. And then Ruffles up here will split. I usually go to the right just to make it a little more interesting. So I just go right here. You can stay left. It's a little bit easier. Mossier and wetty going this way. Have to go over a couple snotty roots. Very good. And then you quickly just intersect back onto Ruffles. And then you just make yourself down the crossover. So we do a right-hand turn onto crossover, and then we carry on that across the bridge that's pretty new. It's been put in last year to go over the little creek, and then we'll carry on straight for a little bit. So we're still on crossover. We come up to a little bit of a junction. If you go to the right, you go on to bottom feeder. If you go straight, you go on to overdive, but we're going left to staying on crossover for this route. And then we're going to be approaching a choice where you have a down. You can do either a rock slab, which I'm going to do, or you can go down on the easier right hand side. So you just got to sort of sneak yourself into the slab, have some good control, good braking. A little bit wet, not too bad. Very good. Then our left will have get wet. We stay on crossover and we do a bit of a climb. A little bit of a slip, then you come onto the flat, and then we come up to a bit of a junction point again. If you go straight on, you'll go into say we'll go left, stay on crossover, and then do a left on Madonna. So we're going on to Madonna now, and Madonna takes you all the way to End Trail. I don't believe this portion of Madonna gets ridden very much, and it's blue intermediate, but it certainly has a few technical little things on it, especially when it's wet and mossy. So we'll carry on and we'll see how it goes. So we're just coming up to a bit of a rock climb right now that's, again, wet and mossy. So just maintain good weight balance on both tires and give it a go. Very good. And then you come on up, you go onto a bit of a ledge, keep some speed. And then you got to do, my route here is to do a little bit of a step up. There we go. And then you do a bit of a down. And then when you pop out, you do a right to stay on Madonna. And it gets significantly easier now. This is the part that's usually ridden quite a bit. Okay, we're coming up to the end of Madonna. But first you have to go make your way through a rock garden. And here it's all about just giving yourself the opportunity. So you sort of just power up into the rocks. Get a good line. I go down and up again. And then we come to the end of Madonna, and then we're going to do a right and climb up End Trail. So we're now on End Trail. End Trail is sort of like a just blue intermediate climbing trail, sort of a switchbacky kind of climb, nothing too difficult. And that'll intersect us with crossover. So we're just finishing off End Trail, and we enter back onto crossover. So if we would have stayed on crossover earlier, this would have been the end of it. But we're now making our way on crossover from south to north. Okay, so here you have a choice to make. You can stay low, and it's a lot easier. I go up onto the rock slabs. And it's a little bit more complicated, but we'll see how she goes in the wet. Coming up is a real tight left-hand turn, and then getting up onto the rock slab. Real slow. Very good. And we make our way along, and then there'll be a rock roll right at the end. And then you're back on the original crossover trail. So we've ridden for a minute or two on crossover, and we're going to do a left on Daryl's Dive, which they have listed as a two-way black diamond trail. This climbing portion is not much to it. I go over the route there just to make it a little more difficult, and we keep going all the way to the top. And here you have a choice whether you can go to the right, which would be the easiest. Up in the middle on wet rock, I go far left, then cut back to the rock, and then go right. So we finish Daryl's Dive and we take a left and go on Say Ah, and we take Say Ah all the way to where it intersects to Fun Trail. On Say Ah, I now leave the main trail and I go up onto a rock slab. Completely optional, just make it a little more spicy. Climb up that, and then we go down a little bit of a down. It's not really much. It's a rooty area. You sort of good positioning, so you can get a little bit of an air off a little huck right there, and carry on the Fun Trail. Okay, and we come to the end of Say Ah, and we do a right-hand turn onto Fun Trail, and we ride that for maybe 100 meters, and then there'll be a turn off on the right. There's no sign, but the trail is quite distinctive. Okay, and then we do a right onto Fun Trail, and it's probably the longest climbing trail on the mountain, and we sort of just gain some elevation on it. It's a blue intermediate trail, nothing overly difficult, and it's sort of switchbacky in spots. We just make our way up to get to the other trails. Here we go. So coming up now is a little spot. It's not too difficult. You just got to give yourself the opportunity. Now, you can go right up on the rock. I find it quite snotty if you don't get good positioning. So I fire through the opening, give a good pedal stroke, and then you can make it pretty easy. So we're still on Fun Trail. We're just at the junction. On our left is the end of Free Kisses, and then on the right is the beginning of Bottom Feeder. But we carry on climbing Fun Trail. Okay, and then on Fun Trail, we come to another junction point where you'll have Sofa King on your rider's right, which will be right where we are right now. And then coming up on our right is the third portion of Green Ribbon, which we'll be doing in a little bit. On my left is the second portion of it, and directly in front of me is sort of the midway entrance for Organ Donor. So carrying on with our climb, it's almost over. So coming up here, you can stay right and continue on Fun Trail to the very end, which is around the corner. I go left and go on to Free Kisses, just because I like to, and we've got a couple technical little things, but nothing much. So we're still climbing because this is more of a down trail. And you just got to climb up a bit of a rock slab right here. And then do a right-hand turn. Then go left. Then we'll go up and then we'll actually intersect back into Fun Trail right where it will be intersecting Southridge. Okay, we're now on Southridge. Go down a rock roll. And we stay on Southridge until it intersects with the very bottom of Huge Ribbon, and then I'll explain what we're doing there. So still on Southridge, you have the option here to go left, and it's somewhat easier. You've got to go through a real rooty patch. I go right, and you just go down a tiny rock rolly kind of area. Get that set up for it. You fire down, cross the bridge, and then up a wet. Oh, very good, I slipped out. Up the rock roll. Carrying on. Okay, so we're on Southridge, and we've just come to the bottom of Huge Ribbon. This is going to be very optional. You don't have to do this. I do it sometimes, where I'm going to climb up. I take a left, and I'm going to be climbing up, ramped up to get to near the top of Rampart. So you take your first left, or you'd stay on Huge Ribbon, and you start your climb. The climb takes maybe 10 minutes. There's some challenging corners, but nothing too bad. Just take your time. And then we go up here through quite a rocky, rooty section. You just got to sort of hit it. Very good. So coming up here is a tighter right corner. Get through that. And then coming up is a little bit of a down. And then you got to do a left-hand turn. Sometimes it's slippy if there's rocks down and stuff like that, so we'll see what it's like. Real controlled. Left-hand turn. Not too bad. Then up the hill we go. And just so you know, this trail is outside the bike park, so it's not sanctioned. And since I last showed, I had done a couple turns. So if you want complete directions on how to go up, I do have a video on my YouTube channel that shows the whole ride up. So here's the next tight corner. Just get around. Not too bad today. Then up a rock. So and that goes without saying, every trail that I'm going to do today has a video on my channel showing the complete trail to show the rider what they're getting into. So, but for now we're carrying on with the up. So up here we're going to take a right-hand turn. We're not at the top of Ramped Up. There's one rock wall that's to my left, which I don't do. So for the purpose of this route, we just do a right-hand turn. But if you keep going up, you can do that rock roll, or you can keep going and you can intersect with legend that runs the entire length of the mountain. So, but we're going to be doing that for another route. So for now, we'll just stay on Rampart, and it's pretty much a down. So if you're watching and you go, you're not interested in doing that, there's nothing that says that you just can't go back down Ramped Up. It's an unsanctioned trail, so if you just yield to people climbing, which I don't think happens that frequently, no one's going to care. So we start with the down now. rocky and rooty. So you can go farther left here and go down the rock. Coming up here, you go down the rock face, and you actually can control it quite well with your front brake. Quite spicy actually. Looks like the rain, because it was raining pretty good, has moved some rocks. Done another rock roll. Up and down. And then here we have a couple smaller rock rolls, back to back. That's number one. Good positioning. Stay heavy on your pedals. And the second one. And so coming up here, it's important, do not go straight on unless you want to get air. Because you can't roll it, I don't believe it, I've never tried, so go left and then go down the roll. And then you'll come to another ledge and you can roll this. There is a go around, but you can roll this quite easily. And then we finish by going across, hopefully successfully, a wood plank. Very good. And that's it. That's the end of Rampart. And we turn left and we make our way back up Southridge. So we're still going north on Southridge, and we cross the elevated bridge, and then we'll be coming up to a junction very quickly. So for this route, I'm going to continue my riding up Southridge until I get up to Falling Satellites. But if you don't want to choose that, because it can be spicy, just go right on Painless and then up to Falling Satellites that way. So stay on Southridge and do the climb. So we're still on Southridge. We're just at the top of it. So coming up will be a left onto Dave's line. We'll actually be coming back to that later, but you need to do a right-hand turn and go up onto the plateau to your right. So on this plateau, you actually have 3 trails. To the far right is Southridge Descent or something, whatever it's called. In the middle is Falling Satellites, and to my left is Birth Control. We're going to do Falling Satellites. So here we go. And this is definitely a little spicier when it's wet. So coming up is an off-camber ledge that I'm going to try and climb up. I don't know if I'll be successful in the wet. I haven't been in the past. So here we go. Nope. And for that portion, I usually might say to myself, I just didn't believe enough. That's probably true, but if I don't do this trail on this route, it's usually because of that just one spot. The rest of it's all down, and again, it's wet, but it's navigatable as long as you hit good lines. So we do a left, and then we go down this ridge. And the ridge has a couple different exit points, depending on how spicy you like it. I just take the easiest one. So we're about halfway down it, and we come to it again. This part can be rooty and rocky. Very good. And then out the bottom. And then at the bottom, you do a right. Very good. And then you come to the blue sign, do a left to stay on falling satellites. If you go straight on, it's painless. And then at the fork, we'll stay right, again for falling satellites. And here you got to make it up onto a rock. Not too bad. And coming up here, you need to make yourself through a rock garden over some big roots. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. Here we go. And then up the rock. Very good. Carrying on with falling satellites. And then when you get to a meadow, you do a left. Here I go down a steeper rock roll. You don't have to, you can go farther left. Control. And there's some snotty roots. Then you can go straight up onto a rock roll if you want. It's quite a steep descent, I've never done it. Far too chicken for that kind of stuff. Just make your way around. And then you come to the end of falling satellites and we do a right. And we're intersecting into Diaphragm Climb right now. And we're going to go over the new rock bridge and then up to Green Ribbon. And here you get to a bit of a junction. If you go left, it'll be Hot Tamale, formerly Hot Cherry. And you can go right. What we're doing is going to Green Ribbon. And then eventually we'll have the start of Organ Donor on our left. But staying on Green Ribbon for this. We're staying on it for the entirety of the trail. Now Green Ribbon is a black trail. It's pretty much just an all mountain trail with some descents, a few little climbs. Well, one good climb actually. Organ Donor was to my left right there. That's the very beginning of it now. And we keep on with Green Ribbon. Very rocky, very rooty. Into a bit of a rocky area. And now we're going to be going into a rocky descent. It's a bit of a slab, not that long, really not that hard, just control your speed. And we're going to be intersecting onto Fun Trail, which we climbed on earlier. So down the rock slab, left-hand turn, this is Fun Trail, then a right onto Green Ribbon. So coming up here, there's some different options for going down. You can go down rock slabs and stuff like that. I don't do that. They're far too steep for my liking. They're sort of double black diamond features. I do go down the dirt chute right here. Just keep your control, good front brake. You can control your speed pretty good. Pick a line, not too bad. Again, there's optional areas for a jump. You can jump right here to the left. I don't really get that kind of air. Not that brave, again. And then coming up right here, is the one sort of punchy up. And since climbing is the one thing that I'm actually not bad at, I need it no problem. And then we level off again and we'll continue with the descent in a sec. Okay, now we're just going to be going on to a off-camber rock. It's wet. It's usually not bad. You just keep a direction. I've never slipped on it. And carry on downhill. Optional jump right there. Now you come to a junction, whereas if you go left, you'll get air. I go to the far right and it's a roll. There's a log that's been placed there to make it a nice roll. I stay right, control my speed nicely, and exit green ribbon without any issues. That's the end of green ribbon, very good. And we do a left and we're on bottom feeder. Okay, then we exit bottom feeder and we enter on to crossover and stay on crossover going north. Prior to getting to the end of crossover, what we're going to do is we're going to do a left and climb Ruffles. Lots of climbing, but all doable. Okay, so we're still climbing Ruffles. Coming up is a steeper climb that'll be on the rider sort of straight ahead. If you don't like the look of that, just turn right here and go up the first portion of All Dressed and then just stay left and you'll end up in the same spot. So here we go for the climb for Ruffles. There we go. Good. So for this portion of Ruffles, you can go right across the rock. I just shoot right through the tree. Then you go into a bit of a rock garden area. Right here. And now your option to get out of this is to either go far right, which is the easiest, left, which isn't that easy, or straight down the middle right here. Very good. Okay, the last technical spot is trying to get up onto a ledge off of Ruffles. Sometimes it's not too bad. If it's dry, it's significantly easier. When it's wet, it's not. So we're going to give it a go. Nice. And down the rock. And then we come to the end of Ruffles. And then we go just up the service road to the left a tiny bit. And we do a right-hand turn and go up a blue intermediate trail called Rough and Roll. Nothing too complicated about it. Sometimes there's a couple little ups, but that'll take us all the way over to Rolly Ridge. And then on this part of Rough and Roll is a rocky ridge. Not very big. So down that, up, and then we come to the end of it, and then straight on to Rolly Ridge. Okay, then we start right onto Blue Intermediate Trail Rolly Ridge. And climbing this, at the first part, you can just stay left and power up the rock, or you can do sort of like a switchbacky thing, which is what I'm going to do. Make it a little more technical and see how it goes. Very good. Carrying on Rolly Ridge. And then we go into a rock garden. And then we're going to have a bit of a down If you want to take the easier route, just stay right. I sort of shoot right through the middle. It can be kind of narrow and onto a route, so it can be snotty. Then up on another rock garden. And we go up the trail, and then I do a little side thing right here. I climb up into the mossy rock, then along the edge of it, and then down. And then we intersect Rolly Ridge, right at Rolly Ridge Connector, which I've done a couple times. This time I'm not going to go up on the rock slab. I'm just going to stay on the original trail, go through the rooty bits. So you can see what that's like. And then we come to Diaphragm Connector on our left, and we stay on Diaphragm Connector all the way until we get to Diaphragm Climb. So I've shown this a couple times, so I won't be showing any part of this. Diaphragm Connector. So we're still on Diaphragm Connector. We're going to be taking a left on Diaphragm Climb. It's a black diamond trail. It's not that bad. There's a couple technical kind of spots on it. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, just for this route, just stay on Diaphragm Connector and do a left and go up painless, and you'll end up virtually in the same spot. So, but for this route, we're climbing Diaphragm Climb. Rocky and rooty, challenging in certain spots. And I opt to do a little bit of a rock roll right here. Very good. We carry on with the climb. We get into a rock garden-y kind of section. Go up and down. Oops. So it's this portion here on Diaphragm Climb that I find most challenging. I go into harder gear, and I try and fire up on the right. Clear that, go down a gear for the climb. Very good. That was a rocky and rooty section. Make our way through that. And then we come to where the intersection was for falling satellites. So at this junction here, before we stayed straight onto the bridge, but for Diaphragm Climb we go right, and then we'll eventually intersect at the end with painless. And then we come to the end of Diaphragm Climb and do a left on Painless. And then we'll be doing a right on Southridge and do that climb that we did earlier to get to Falling Satellites. So right hand turn on the Southridge, and then we'll be starting the same climb up at Southridge, except this time we'll be turning left on Dave's line. Very good. Okay, we're now at the top of the Southridge climb. We're going to take a left, and we're going to do the entirety of Dave's line climb. So Dave's line, the descent is blue, the climb is considered black. And it's rocky and rooty for the climb. I find it fun, but that's the kind of stuff I like. So it's not for everybody. We're coming to a very rooty area. Trying to get around. Very good. Nice. Snuck my way through there. It's very rocky and rooty through the first parts. Then it levels out. Very good. Now we've got a little tiny downhill portion through our rocky area on Dave's line. Just have a good line, good braking control. Very nice. So we're still on Dave's line. Coming up on the right is the original trail, but to go that way you have to climb a rock wall, kind of, which is doable I think in the summertime when it's not as wet. But I go, and most people go on the alt route, which I'm on, which is quite chunky and not easy in itself. The water does a big job on it flowing during storms, and it's taken its toll a little bit there, but still quite rideable and still quite good. The Dirty Girls came out a couple years ago and fixed it up and did a great job. So we're still climbing Dave's line. We're almost near the end of it, and we're going to be going over a relatively new bridge, and then there's two ways to go up. There's a big route in front of it. People go to the left, I go to the right, so I've got to do a step up on the route. If I make it, great. If I don't, I'll slip. Very good. What we're going to do is we come to the intersection of Waterworks, Lost Trail, and Phase 2, and obviously Dave's line because that's what we're on. And we're going to do a right-hand turn onto Waterworks. Now, if you go left, you go up the connector to Twister, but we're going to go this way. We're going to go right, where they've done the new build for people coming that come up Middle Earth. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the entrance of Pay It Forward. And then we're going to head over to Torpedo Run. So we're going down Waterworks now. And then we quickly come on to Pay It Forward on our left, and we're going to be going left, and we'll stay on that until it takes us all the way to Torpedo Run. So a left-hand turn right here. And this is, so coming up here will be a junction. If you go left, that'll be Snakes Connector, which will take you to the top of Snakes and Ladders. Or you can go right and stay on Pay It Forward, and you'll get to the beginning of Torpedo Run. I'm not a real speed or jump guy, but it's fun once in a while to give it a go. So it's very flowy. A little bit of an uppy course here. It's cleaned up this corner quite a bit. I think there might be a tree down coming up here too, so keep my eyes open for that so I don't decapitate myself. And that's the end of Torpedo Run, and I didn't see any trees down, so I'll have to clear that off the trail, folks. So we take a left on the service road, or they call it centerfold, I guess. And we're going to take centerfold all the way till we get to the turn for Little Face. So we're going to turn right onto Little Face, or Wild Stallion, whatever they're calling it these days. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a left. I think I did this on the first video. And we exit on Rock Bottom, which has got a bit of a steeper rock roll on it, but you can go left and it's not near as steep. And then it's got a sort of a rocky chute to exit, but you just got to maintain good control, good braking. So here's the steep little descent. A little slippy, but good. And then we go down the rock descent. Very good. And then turn right on the service road. And then we go all the way down to Shortcut. And then take that. So we take a right here on Shortcut, and then you can go to the far right and it's not as steep, but I just go down the steep part, and then there's a little jump at the bottom you can do. Right there. And then straight on to shock treatment like the last two videos, and then we'll be doing a left on the Easy Rider. So that's it, on the Easy Rider once again to finish the ride. So as I've said before, I will put the list of the trails at the bottom of the trail of the description for the video. And if you want to watch the entirety of any of the trails that I've ridden, there's videos on my YouTube channel for each individual trail in its entirety. So until next time, enjoy your riding.